Good afternoon. Welcome to the John Gaunt podcast. For flipping hell's sake, the right must unite to beat Starmer. I'm going to show you in this podcast why parties of the right, and that's everybody from people like Ben Habib, Reform UK, Nigel Farage, Tommy Robinson, Ben Habib, Rupert Lowe, they've got to get together, stop squabbling like kids in the playground, and actually unite to beat Starmer, because Starmer's not going to go to the country for ages, but meanwhile, he's going to carry on with his social engineering and wrecking our great nation. That's the agenda. If you want to comment, please just put your comment in the box. But let's be straight. What's happening here? Both of them should have resigned or been sacked today. They lied to Parliament and they've lied to us, the country. More importantly, I'm talking about Starmer and Reeves. But they're not going to go. Do you know why? Because they are psychopaths. They are completely and utterly committed to one thing, which is keeping in office. They are 100% bullshitters, right? So they're not going to go. They're going to have to be forced out. And the only real way to do that, yes, Farage is doing brilliantly and Reform UK in the polls, but we can't wait 4 years for an election, can we? What we need to do is have a united right. I'm not talking about the far right. I'm not talking about racism. I'm talking about just normal, ordinary citizens like me and you. We have to be united with a broad consensus that says we're not going to allow Starmer to do some of the things he wants to do. For example, today, they are going to push through getting rid of juries, regardless of the fact that the British public are completely and utterly against it by massive majority. Lammy was against it himself, but now he's in power. He wants it to go through. Ask yourself a question, because I talked about this 2 or 3 days ago. They are trying to form effectively a dictatorship, a kind of semi-North Korea. So why do they want jury trials stopped? Because then it's easier to manipulate people. We know what the judge... Do you trust the judges? I trust 12 good men and true. If I end up in a court of law where there is a jury or a magistrate, I'd always go for the jury. I'll be judged by my peers. But after the Southport riots, don't you think it would have been much easier for Starmer to say, well, these sentences, they're not going to be more than 3 years. We don't need a jury. We'll just have a judge, i.e. acting as if you're already guilty, which they effectively did anyway. That's what's going on. It's another way of suppressing free speech or dissent. They must not be allowed to get away with it. I don't think they will anyway, to be honest. I think there's enough sensible people in the Commons, even in the Labour Party, who won't allow Lammy to do this. But it's a worrying attack. And it's just one example of what they're going to do. Another example, Lord Hermer. You know who he is? He's the Attorney General. He's a Jewish fella himself. But today, and he's obviously best mates with Starmer. But before being best mates with Starmer, he was the chosen barrister to look after people who wanted to kill us. Terrorists, that's right. He's the terrorist brief. A bit like that bloke in Minder who's always on the baddie side. Anyway, fair enough. Lord Hermer today has attacked Nigel Farage for what he allegedly said, which he denies, when he was a child. Over 51 years ago when he was 13. Today, Lord Hermer, the Attorney General, who should be keeping his nose and his mouth out of this, he's turned around and said, Farage must apologise. Apologise for something he can't remember? Apologise for something he said he didn't say? Let's be clear what this is. It's another attack on a popular right person. It's quite clear what's going on. And I'm telling you, this is how they will continue over the next few years. So that by the time there is a general election, they'll either completely wrecked Farage's chances, or he'd have given up on it. Or, for example, Tommy Robinson. I'm not the greatest fan of Tommy, and I do know him. I've met him many times. But he has to be in this coalition even, of the right. And before you start saying, Gaunty, you're a hypocrite, you didn't think that before, I've got to admit, I didn't. It's you lot who have convinced me, not all of you, but people have been saying for ages, John, the right have got to unite. And I've been pushing you back and saying, no, Farage will win. And people say to me, Ben Habib is better than Farage, or Rupert Lowe is, etc., etc. And I've been, I guess, recently in Farage's camp, and I still am largely. But I've been thinking about this today because of what's happened with Lord Hermer. And there's another thing, which I'll go on to in a moment, because of the jury thing with Lammy, because these two have no honour whatsoever. They would have apologised at least, or resigned at most. And then the BBC, they're all part of it. They're reporting that the Office for Responsibility, whatever they're called, the fellow who had to resign, they're now saying, well, she didn't mislead the Commons. If you look on the BBC website now, then look at any other newspaper and their reporting of the story, it's completely the opposite. They have criticised Rachel Reeves, Rachel Thieves, whatever you want to call it. So it was you lot who have made me look at this again and think, yes, we need a coalition of the right. As I go through this show in the next half hour, this is the John Gaunt podcast, by the way, I'll be telling you other reasons that have affected my judgment. None of them are alcohol related. If you want to comment, write a comment in the box, and then I'll start to read them out. If you're listening on a podcast, good to have you on board. If you're watching later on repeat, you can still add your comments. Thank you for joining me. This is the John Gaunt Show. Right, where was I up to? Right, so you've got the Lord Hermer, the Attorney General today. You've got Lammy. Let me tell you what the other thing is that you've got to really consider within all of this. ID cards. The British public do not want digital ID cards. He's absolutely convinced by them, Starmer. Basically, it's a Tony Blair project. Ooh, hiss. And he is going to implement ID cards, whether we like it or not, because it's going to be a situation where if you haven't got one, you won't be able to do anything. And I'm dead set against it. Mostly, this was because of the mess they made of COVID. All politicians. I don't want them to have my information. Do you? But he's got 4 years and still got a massive majority. He can push this through. So again, the right, and I would include the Conservatives in this if they wish, we need to come together, because he is going to put forward his cultural Marxism, his common purpose agenda, and he doesn't need an election. He doesn't have to go to the country for 4 years. And if he hasn't buckled over the shit he's been in this week and the past few weeks, we went through this the other day, all the problems that he's had, that he's caused, everything from the freebies to right through to Angela Rayner fiddling her stamp duty, to people like Rachel Thieves, the mobile phone incident, all the rest of it, he's not going to buckle. So in this 4 year period, what he's going to do now, I reckon he's going to actually basically hunker down and get through all his socialist stuff, because he knows he's finished. Democratically, he's never going to win an election. Never in a million years. He's so far behind. He is hated. Absolutely hated. And there's no way, even in 4 years, he's going to turn that around. So he knows his time's up. So now he'll try and make a name for himself, because don't forget what he's after. He's after that job in the EU. He's after that job at the UN. And talking of that, that's the other thing. He hinted at it 2 days ago. He's going to take us back into the EU, either through the front door or through the back door. He's saying it openly. Lord Hermer, the guy who's having a go at Farage today, he wants to be back in the EU. And do you know where this all comes from? It all comes from because they're the lawyer class, the leeching, legal, lawyer, human rights class, where they think, well, I'll just be straight with you, they don't like you. They don't like you, and they don't like me, and they certainly don't like Tommy Robinson or indeed Nigel Farage and Rupert Lowe. They don't like him either because they don't like it up 'em. Captain Mannering. It's a metaphor, by the way. It's ridiculous. So what they're going to do is they're going to try and force us back into the EU. Watch out. You're hearing it now already. The drip, drip, drip of propaganda. The BBC are so shit scared now of their own shadow, they'll do whatever this lousy Labour government want. The same with the prisons. Today, Lammy actually said they'd let out 12 more prisoners. By mistake. Mistake. Why wasn't he resigning today? And he wants to scrap the juries. This is why they're so against the flags. Why have they tried to make out the people who were putting up the flags are far right? Likewise, anybody who complains about the migrant hotels like the Bell Hotel in Epping, they want to paint those ladies, those women, as far right fascists when they're nothing of the kind. They're worried about their daughters, their wives, their sisters. And they've got every right to be, as that guy was sexually assaulting a 14-year-old. What about the people in Nuneaton? No wonder they're up in arms. And we don't want these people. Let me just be clear, and this is why they don't like us. We don't want these people, these flip-flop warriors, in the country at all. Full stop. End of. So what we need, how many more times? Navy in the Channel, Army on the beach, and as soon as a flip-flop hits the beach, they are detained or they're sent home straight away. If they don't know where they come from, send them to somewhere like Ascension Island and let's process them there. But if they do stay here, they're under lock and key in old army camps. That's what the British public want. That's what you and me, the unwashed, the plebeians, the plebs. But they hate us for that because somehow that's not us being kind. Be kind. That's not us being humanitarian. That's not us being charitable. We're the most charitable nation in the world. Tell me what is humane about allowing people to get into rubber dinghies with people smugglers with too many in them and kids dying in the Channel. How fucking humane is that? Well, I'll tell you, it's not humane at all. But in the wild world of people like Lord Hermer, the Attorney General, David Lammy, and also, of course, Sir Keir Starmer, it's wonderful. We're so liberal. We're so humane. Do you live near them? No. You having some in your house? No. Likewise, they've got the police in their pocket. Looking at the two-tier policing we've got in this country at the moment. You put a flag up, you'll have the police knocking on the door. Guy shoots a gun when he's in Florida. He gets put in jail or in a police cell for a day while they investigate him. Look at free speech, the way people like Lucy Connolly were sent to prison. And if there's no juries, there'll be more of that. People will be getting sent down without the rights that we've had for 800 years to be listened to and judged by their peers. This is what's going to happen. Ofcom, their powers are getting extended so they can also police the internet, programs like this. And in all of this, while Starmer pushes this through, he will still have complete and utter contempt, not just for the people of Britain, who pay his bloody wages, but also for the House of Commons. Stuff will still be getting leaked left, right and centre. They won't bother telling the Commons till after it's decided. And you don't believe me? Look at the way he behaves in Prime Minister's questions. And then they have the temerity to say that Kemi was a bully against that idiot Chancellor. Yeah? It's a joke, an absolute joke. And just in case you think I've forgotten, I haven't. What's the other thing they want to do? They want to give votes to 16-year-olds. Now, that might backfire because they'll probably end up now voting for that gap-toothed idiot. But they'll get that through in this next 4-year period. I'll go further. I think they'll give it to prisoners. They've been after that for ages. And once they've given it to prisoners, they'll follow other countries who have given the vote to illegal immigrants. That's what they'll do. Suddenly, the flip-flop warriors, not able to speak a word of English, but they'll be allowed to vote in our elections. Don't believe me? What happened with the EU citizens, didn't it? He's not getting an election. He's not, I said election. He knows he hasn't got an election. So it's a bit like a cornered animal. And when an animal's most dangerous, when they think the only way out is to fight. So that's what he'll do. And if the, I forgot. You'll be freezing to death in your houses because he'll push on with Miliband's mad ideas on green issues, and we'll all be driving electric cars. There'll be even more dilution of our culture and our traditions, backed up by the police like that arsehole Chief Constable in the West Midlands, who fiddled the evidence to say that Jewish people couldn't go to that match. There'll be more of that. You mark my words, we'll all be celebrating Ramadan, Diwali, and the rest of it. I haven't got a problem with that. As long as we can still celebrate Easter and Christmas, and we're still predominantly a Christian country, but you know as well as I do, Labour have been diluting that for years. And then the final thing, the final card, his trump card, if you'd like it, if you want to put it that way, he'll take us to war. He'll take our boys and our girls to war in Russia, the Ukraine, maybe even China. Let's face it, he's given the biggest takeaway ever to the Chinese. Anything they want. Want the Chagos Isles? On you go. We'll sort that out for you. How much do you want us to pay you on top of giving you our territory? This is what he'll do. He's in power and he knows he's never going to get elected again. There he is, and he'll be as dangerous as hell. So, bearing all that in mind, maybe even the possibility of our kids dying on foreign soil again, the right must unite. They must unite. We need the intellect. I interviewed Ben Habib. I thought he was a brilliant bloke, very intelligent, very clever. I've not interviewed Rupert Lowe. I shall try and sort that out in the next week or so. So I know Farage very well. I know Tommy Robinson very well. And I'm saying let's use all the talents. Put away the playground squabbles. And I know, like, people are saying GB News have banned Rupert Lowe because of Nigel owning part of GB News. All of that's got to stop. It reminds me of the EU campaign, the Brexit campaign. I tried to get them all in a room. It was like herding cats. It was like the Monty Python. Is it the People's Front of Judea? And we don't like them because they did it. It's like the Socialist Workers' Party. It's like that idiot Zara Sultana. The right have got to be more intelligent and cleverer than that. And they've got to come together. Not for a coup. I'm not suggesting a revolution. What I am suggesting is a revolution of the mind, where those on the right realise they've got a common enemy. Sorry, you won't get that on the radio if you're listening on a podcast, but I'm pointing to Starmer. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Can they all be brought together? What? Maybe you're a member of one of these parties. I want your views now, please. Loads of people are coming through on the comments. If you'd like to like the show, press the like button like crazy. The more likes we get, it helps the algorithm. Don't forget, the best way to help me is to join John Gaunt TV on YouTube. Go to YouTube, look for my channel, John Gaunt TV, and it will say, do you want to subscribe? Make sure you press yes. It doesn't cost you anything. However, and last night was great, if you'd like to donate some money to my podcast and because you like what I'm saying and you think it's important, because it bloody is, let me tell you, just press the $ on the YouTube screen and send me whatever you can afford. Alternatively, go to www.buymeacoffee.com/John Gaunt and you can donate anything from a £5. My God, this is going to be a great show. Let's go. Hula Hoops 6360. Absolutely spot on, Gaunty. This is a massive priority for the sake of humanity and Western civilization. I think you're right. Then I asked a question before I started. Can the parties on the right unite? And should they? And that's the fundamental question, I guess, underneath tonight's show. Starmer, Reeves, Cooper, Lammy must go, says Will, says Gary Spencer. Yeah, Gary, but I've kind of moved the agenda on. I agree they've got to go. But the depressing news I'm bringing you tonight is I don't think they're going to. I don't think they're going to. If there was a united front of the right, plus popular support, because I think the papers will get behind it as well, the pressure can be brought to bear. Because when he starts doing the stupidity of getting rid of juries, ID cards, bringing them in, more rights for migrants than the people who are already settled here, more money, your money wasted. Did you know it's 74 grand you've got to earn to be the same as many people who are on benefits? It's ludicrous what's going on. He's got to be stopped. But listen, he's got the brass neck to carry on. He's got the hide of a rhinoceros, I understand. Let's move on. Jackie Ward, I've met Ben Habib and had a long chat. I thought then he's future Prime Minister material. I was so disappointed when he fell out with Farage. Rupert Lowe also, says Jackie Ward. They've got to forget their differences and get on and show a united front. You're right, John. They can then take the election by a storm. Yes, Jackie, but you see, listen to what I'm saying. Read between the lines. I'm saying the elections are important, but there's a fight to be had now. He doesn't have to have an election. And all this people saying, oh, the king can bring it. That ain't going to happen. Wake up, smell the coffee. We've got to force him out simply by constantly saying, no, 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 no. Before we start saying 999, if you follow what I'm saying. And we're back in the EU. Oh, John, I'm sorry I'm late. I've just got back from hospital. Oh, I hope it went well for you, mate. Den Spinks, good evening, John. I think that if Labour try and get rid of Starmer, he would just threaten them all with a general election. He'd rather see them all lose their jobs to save his own arse. You mean if his own backbenchers turned against him? I don't think he would. He has got one interest alone, and that's looking after himself. I've got a mate who's a lawyer who knows him. He said, he said this way before the election. He said, don't be fooled by Starmer. Starmer's not a moderate, and Starmer would put his own granny under a bus for power. I thought he was just sort of exaggerating, but I think he's probably right. So that's where we are. Denise Deacon, I don't trust judges. Look at the judge who ruled against Epping Council. Precisely. Turned out he was a Fabian, John. Yes. Surprise, surprise, she says. These judges all seem to be in bed with the left. Well, they are all left-leaning liberals, a lot of them. I can't say all of them. But that is why we have a jury. I've done jury service. I think I've been unlucky. I've done it 3 times. And you get a right mixture of people on it. And, of course, the defendant has the right to say, no, I don't want him. I don't want her. But, yeah. Because there's a pool of you. I think that's a fair system. I think that is a fair system. And just because there's a backlog, which, of course, we've got to blame the Tories for, as well as Labour, and, of course, COVID. Let's not forget COVID. Can't the judges just work longer hours? Can't they work on a Saturday and Sunday? There must be ways around this without taking away something that we fought for. We have 800 years, the right to be tried by our peers. So that's why we've all got to come together. Rosseth22 says, I've been saying this too. We must unite. Thank you, Rosseth. I'm late to the party, my friend. I'm late to the party. I've got to admit that tonight because I've been saying, no, your best chance of getting rid of him is to get Farage in. But there's not going to be an election. I thought he'd get forced out this week. I don't think he's going to be. He might sacrifice Rachel Reeves. I doubt it because they're so closely linked. Thank you for pressing the like button. It's up to 22. If you want to do that for me now. ID cards will never happen, says Gary Spencer, and shouldn't happen. Apparently being debated in Parliament this month. What do you mean they'll never happen? How can you say that? I don't think they will, but I don't think you can say they'll never happen. You've got to be aware. You've got to be awake to it. You've got to challenge these things. He's desperate to do it. The stakes are too high for the right not to unite, says Cumbrian Mackham 9296 on YouTube. Very well put, my friend. Kim Thomas, VP4VM. One of the issues for the Reform Party is that a lot of people don't like Nigel Farage. Well, tough cheese, tough titty. Sometimes you've got to get over the personalities, haven't you? I don't think necessarily I'd want to go on holiday with Nigel Farage, but there's one thing you can't deny. He's the only man in British politics who actually achieved his goal that he set out for. It took 20 odd years, but he did get us out of the EU. And of course, now they want to force us back in, which is another reason. That's why I'm saying it's got to be a collection of these leaders, collection of all the talents, work together, put your egos aside. Because I'd say this to Farage's face. I'd say it to Tommy, and I'd say it to Rupert Lowe and Ben Habib. You think you're patriots. You say you're patriots. But would you put your country before you? You and your ego. I'm not slagging him off saying that. I'm just saying, would you do it? Because I think that's what's going to happen. They only like people who share their views. Everyone else is far right. Gary Spencer. That's a sensible point. That's very true, Gary. This is what I'm saying. The lawyer legal class of which Starmer represents, they hate the working class. That's why he doesn't call us working class. He says working people. What the fuck does that mean? And my dad was a toolmaker. No, he wasn't. He owned the factory. And he said, we sit around the table and we never had enough money. Absolute bullshit, mate. Absolute bullshit. And we're not buying it. We're not buying anything you say. You're finished. But the problem is, you know you're finished. You know there's no chance you're going to get re-elected. No chance at all. So he's not going to go to the country. But he's got this agenda. Because remember about Starmer, he's arrogant. He absolutely believes he's right. It's like your mum, have this medicine. Oh, it tastes horrible, mum. Yeah, but if it doesn't taste horrible, it won't do you any good. It's false logic. It's nonsense. Starmer thinks he knows better than you and me. And Starmer will get what he wants unless we unite. Are you with me or against me? But a lot do, Kim, personally. I don't like Farage, but compared to Starmer, he's a million times better, says Strawberry Heist. She was talking to Kim, who just put a comment up. That's a good point. A lot of people do like Nigel Farage. A lot of other people don't. That's fine. He's Marmite on that level. But you're right, what you're saying there, Strawberry, which is you've got to be pragmatic. Somebody said to me just before I came on, they said, Lawrence Fox should be involved. Now, I hate Lawrence Fox. I think he's a jerk. But if he could be useful, let him in the camp. I've gone past this. You can't be in the camp because you once said this. I mean, I destroyed him once on GB News because him and that Kelvin, I don't like him either. But everyone's got a part to play. They probably don't like me either. That's all right. I can live with that. Victoria Linda, well said, John Gaunt. Thank you on Facebook. That's very kind of you. I'm not a big fan of Farage myself, but he must be better than Starmer and co. Thank you, Gary. Being pragmatic, sensible. A few million people will be deeply pissed off if Starmer ever tells us we're rejoining the European Union. Den, think he cares? He's already decided. He said it in a speech yesterday. We need closer links. It's going to happen unless we, the people, and people power, like Farage said before, that's what won the Brexit vote. You've got to start from the point of view that Starmer hates us. So he doesn't give a shit about what you think, Den, or your few thousand mates. Doesn't care. Doesn't care. And now, because he knows he can't get elected, he's more dangerous than ever. That's the point of this podcast tonight, what I'm saying. Which is why I'm saying Tommy Robinson, Nigel Farage, Ben Habib, Rupert Lowe, come together. Unite. Do something, for God's sake. Otherwise, we'll have 4 years of you infighting, And then maybe, well, he still won't get elected. But you see my point. He'd have wrecked the country by then. If you'd like to donate some money to keep these podcasts going, can I just do a little advert here? You just click the $sign on the YouTube, but just underneath the YouTube screen, and you can donate as much or as little as you want. Some people put a tenner in last night, some put a fiver, some just put a couple of quid. It doesn't matter, whatever you can afford, but it means we can keep independent broadcasting going. And over the next 4 years, that's going to be more important than ever. Please donate. Alternatively, and I think 8 people did it last night, you can go to www.buymeacoffee.com/John Gaunt, and then you get your name on this banner at the bottom of my screen, if you're looking at it at the moment, which basically shows that you are a listener, a loyal listener, and you've contributed. Thank you very much indeed. Gary Spencer, look, you don't need to dominate the whole conversation, mate. That's my job. But I'll read this comment out because it's worth it. But then after that, let other people get on, please. Why doesn't Farage acknowledge Tommy? Why don't you ask him? I'm not answering for you. I'm not in one camp or another. So I'm not going to say it's because of this or because of that, because I don't know. I don't know. I'm saying he has to, though. They have to get on. That's all I'm saying, for the greater good. If you're a patriot, your country comes first, above your party. That's why I picked these silly pictures. Stopping trials by juries. Labour will be able to imprison all those that speak against Starmer. Well said, Pam Millett on Facebook. Reeves and the rest of the Labour Party. Yeah. So what she's saying is they'll stop the trial by juries, and then if you say anything that they don't like, that's the kind of trial you'll get. You won't get a trial by jury. You're absolutely right. If we had this law in when the riots happened in Southport, that's how they would have dealt with it, because it would have been quicker. It was pretty quick anyway, wasn't it? Because all the judges just fell in line and people were getting sent down for 36 months for a few hurty words. Don't get me wrong. I thought what Lucy wrote was too far, but it didn't deserve going to prison for that length of time. Of course it didn't. Of course it didn't. But that'll be the case. That'll be the case. It'll be, oh, that was hate speech. That was hate crime. That was far right. Oh, you're a racist. End of. Kim Thomas says, Gary Spencer, it is historical with Farage. He used Tommy to divide and destroy UKIP. Well, I don't think you can back that up. But Kim, thank you for it. But I don't want to go down that cul-de-sac, okay? I'm talking about unity here. I was involved with UKIP, right? They were all as mad as a bunch of frogs, all fighting each other. It was like Monty Python. The greater good. If you're a patriot, put your country first. I'd love to see all the right unite together, John. We need to stop this tyranny as soon as possible, says Denise Deacon. Thank you very much indeed. Gary Spencer, I've told you I'm not reading out any more of yours tonight now, because you're just trying to dominate, and that's not fair. There's hundreds of people trying to get on. Just back off now. Hey, it's a change. Have a listen to what other people are saying. Well, Rupert Lowe will be re-elected if he stands again, but there's no guarantee that Farage will. What planet are you on, Kim? What planet are you on? Of course he'd get re-elected. Have you seen the poll ratings? And Rupert probably would as well. I agree. But you're just falling into the same trap. Starmer wants you to come out with shit like that. Divide and rule. Do you understand? Yes, the right should unite against Labour, says Victoria Linda. Thank you very much indeed. Maggie Morley, John, I think we're living through the Biden years. But here in the UK, that is a very intelligent analysis of the situation. It is like the Biden years. But Trump just got in just in time to save America, to make America great again. Imagine if Biden had carried on. This is what I'm saying with Starmer. He's so keen on being on that world stage. I can see him pulling the ultimate card and sending our boys to die in Ukraine or Russia. I don't want that to happen. I don't think they'll go anyway. I don't think the troops are on his side. I think the police are in a very difficult position at the moment. But excuse me. I don't want it to get to that. We need to unite. Okay, that's Maggie Morley. Kim Thomas, you're just going on and on about Rupert Lowe. You're obviously a fangirl. Just back off, love. Go and have a cup of tea. They all have their own agendas, and that will divide the vote, in my opinion, says Graham Fletcher, coach. I've just let him back onto Twitter. He wrote to me saying, I've been banned. So I put him on today. So, Graham, good to have you on board, even though I don't agree with your opinion. But I can understand why you say that, because in the past, the right have always fought each other. Look at the Rupert Lowe, the Ben Habib, and the Farage situation at the moment. Not helped because it's being said that GB News, I don't know if this is true, that they've banned Rupert Lowe from being on there. I don't know. And Ben Habib, they used to be on all the time. They're hardly ever on now. But then neither am I. So I'm wondering if I'm on the banned list. Am I on the naughty step as well? I do think if GB News are just trying to become Reform's television company, that's a big mistake, because that's what the left are already accusing them of. They shouldn't be that. I learned a very long time ago when I started doing speech radio, talk radio, phone-ins, never align to one party. And also, my memory is long enough about GB News when it was going to be like Tory FM, wasn't it? But then Boris, and then they fell out with Boris. So I don't know. It's a little bit of advice. They can take it or not. I would not link to any party as a radio station or TV station. Den Spinks, only massive global and economic crash would force a general election. I think Labour can't wait for it to come. Well, if it came, that would be no good for them either. I'm not calling for a general election. You're kind of missing my point here. My point is to unite. Try and force him out. Because if there was a general election tomorrow, Nigel Farage would be measuring up for curtains. Linda Varden, Biden's mob are commies as well. And being socialist, they're Nazis. So when they are at the people, they're shouting at themselves. Yeah, okay, Linda, thank you. Den Spinks, I think we all would too. I don't know what that means. Steve McNeish, he's a narcissist. I think that's the word you were looking for. Who is? Steve, you've got to remember that even though you're having a conversation with me and you can see what everybody else is saying and what I'm saying, I don't know what you're thinking in your head. So you need a few words before he's a narcissist. I think that's the word you were looking for. Oh, I think you're talking about Starmer. So just say Starmer's a narcissist. Then I know where you're coming from. Makes the show a bit easier. Because mind reading's not my strong point. If it was, I'd be doing the lottery a day before. Farage has spent years watering down his... Oh, here we go. Here we go. The same bullshit, tribal nonsense coming out. Listen to this. Farage has spent years watering down his views to get mainstream votes. And unfortunately, Tommy's association could reduce the vote share because the media have brainwashed the uneducated. Oh, not as bad as I thought you were going to be. I think that would be true a few years ago. I think with the growth of the internet, I think with the growth of streaming services, I think the growth of shows like mine, I don't think people believe everything that's written in the paper. You know, when the Daily Mail will go, far right thug, Tommy Robinson, real name Stephen Yaxley Lennon has been, and then they list all the crimes like mortgage fraud and everything from mortgage fraud through to, it's just nonsense. Everyone knows that anyway. And it's just rubbish. It's just rubbish. Oh, I'll tell you something else that will start happening. Reform have had they had a Christmas party planned. That'll be a lot of fun in 3 days' time. And they've been told they've had to cancel it somewhere in London because the venue have been said by allegedly Hope Not Hate have said you can't host them. There'll be more of that nonsense over the next few years as well. And that's not right either. That's just not right. Like deplatforming people, it's not right. More people like Nigel Farage and Starmer, yes. The more I hear Zia Yusuf speak, the more I like him as well. He appears on all TV channels and never backs down. Intelligent, sensible man with good policies for the UK. Yeah, I think he comes over quite well. There's something a little bit cold about him for my liking, but He's very articulate. No two ways about that. Not you, Kim, because you've been saying too much. Michael HF5SR has just donated a couple of quid on YouTube, $1.99. Thank you very much indeed. Every penny counts, and you're the first donator today, Michael. So I thank you for that. Anybody else want to chuck a few quid in? Just click the $sign, please, and do that. Or go to www.buymeacoffee.com/John Gaunt. This is a good show. I thought it would be. Den Spinks, I know exactly what you're saying. Okay, fair enough. Wait a minute. I'm going to read this one out because Kim keeps writing things. Ben Habib won't unite. He's building his own party, Advance UK. Well, he can carry on doing that if he wants and having his party conference in a phone box. It'll get nowhere. I know he's got 30,000 followers. You're missing the point, Kim. Kim, just for a moment, try not to be tribal. Try and get out of that bunker and try and make your mind go bigger and see what could be. That's all I'm asking you. What is Starmer? What is Starmer going to do without all the taxes he gets from all the hardworking people? Starmer is destroying businesses and causing more unemployment. I'm going to talk about this tomorrow. I'm going to talk about pubs, I think, tomorrow. What with Reeves budgeting? I'm for Farage and the future of my country. You're absolutely right, Pam. You're absolutely right. Greg Neal says we all have to vote reform to get the traitors out. Nigel needs to be very careful around Tommy Robinson. Why? Why is he got to be careful? Do you think Tommy Robinson's a racist? I'm just asking you, Greg. Straight question. Because I don't think he is. Anyway, I don't think he'd be very good in government, but that's a different issue as well. Reform voters in their main support Tommy Robinson too. I don't know how you can say that because you don't know them all. That's your supposition, but fair enough. We really don't want to hear Tommy Robinson being slated by Nigel. Advance and Ben have embraced Tommy Robinson. I think that's a very wise decision, says Greg Neal. Well, I can see why Nigel hasn't at this moment. And I can see why Ben has. But that's why I'm saying let's unite. Let's get out of our bunkers. That's what I'm trying to say. Starmer wants what he wants. And fuck us, says Malcolm Stringer. Sorry for the language. I understand the passion. Thank you, Malcolm. Facebook person. Gary Spencer says, I'm going now. Good night, John. Keep up the good work. I thought I'd already got rid of you, but never mind. The grocer's daughter has a page about Margaret Thatcher quotes. Her words speak about Labour, Islam and EU. These quotes should unite all of the right, as the message is the same. You are right, John. The right should unite. I didn't know about that, Linda, but thank you very much indeed. That's Maggie Thatcher's book, isn't it? The biography of her, I think. Starmer must go. He cares nothing for the ordinary man. Yes, I know, Bodger, but he's not going to, is he, at the moment? That's why I'm trying to widen the conversation. There's a petition against trials being stopped by jury. I've shared it publicly. Please search and sign, says Pam Millett. Of course. Doesn't really make a difference, though. Those petitions, they're a little bit like let them eat cake, isn't it? It's like let people think they've got a say. A bit like an election, really. Problem with an election is whoever you vote for, the government get in, the civil service. Bodger's just donated $1.99 on YouTube. Thank you, Bodger. You're a top man. See? You can all do it. It's simple to do. If everybody who's watching now chucked in a couple of quid, the whole picture changes. GB News are worried about Ofcom. They're watching them like a hawk. They'd love to shut them down. They've played Ofcom really well, to be honest. I mean, I do know quite a bit about Ofcom, as I did take them all the way to the Supreme Court and then the European Court. There's no need for Ofcom. You've got an off switch. You don't need them. I see the woman who used to run it. She was on Laura Kunsberg this weekend. She used to run Waitrose, I think. Yeah, then she went to run Waitrose and she ran that into the ground. But Sharon, somebody her name is. But anyway, GB News, yeah, they probably are worried. They've invested a lot of money, haven't they? And lost a lot of money already, I presume. But there's, when people slag off GB News, I think they forget what it was like when there wasn't anything like that. I think GB News are doing, on the whole, a good job. Does Reform and Nigel even represent the right? Well, they're certainly right of politics, aren't they, Tony? But I take your point. But I'm talking about the right. I'm not talking about far right here. Jim Garfield. Thank you, Jim. He's just done a super sticker on YouTube for £3. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much indeed. And Pendragon says, I don't really want to have these conversations. Reform are centre left. No, they're fucking not. Well, but I'm not going to have a discussion with you about it. That's just a ludicrous thing to say. Just ludicrous. Get out of your silo. How many times do I have to tell you? You have to open your mind. I'm finishing in a moment. We Reform voters have to make it too big to rig. That's a fair point. Look what happened to Trump, allegedly. Right, I'm finishing now then. If you want to get something in just before I go, feel free. It's been a great program. What a fantastic reaction. What I'm trying to do with the podcast at the moment is just take it up a notch. And so instead of just talking about, do you think Reform will win the election? I'm trying to widen it so they're bigger debates. So I hope you come with me on that journey, because I think that's what we need. It's all got a bit too black and white, hasn't it? Jackie Ward's just sent me 3 red hearts. Oh, Jackie, remember last night I said about Maggie, I think her name is, the Coventry fan who she hasn't been in touch. She hasn't been watching. And I wonder whether I'd upset her about had you right. But she made some comments on Facebook, totally just separate to the program. And I put a comment up and she answered it last night. So clearly not. But she's still not watching now. Can you tell all your friends, please, about the show? Can you tell everybody who you know already listens that we've pulled it back? It's now starting at 6 o'clock, Monday to Thursday. I will be back tomorrow night, I think. I'm pretty sure. I'm also doing extra shows. The only way to know about the extra shows in advance is to join John Gaunt TV. So just look up John Gaunt TV on YouTube. It will say subscribe. Say yes. Doesn't cost anything. Just means you're going to get notice when I'm doing things. Also hit the notification bell, because then that means you get told that I'm on. What else do you need to do? If you want to donate, you can by going to www.buymeacoffee.com/John Gaunt. You can buy a coffee or you can buy a beer. All helps. We need the money to keep this going. And remember, you don't get sent to prison like the BBC. I didn't really get into the BBC tonight because they're going to play a massive part in this next 4 years if they're still around, which they will be. And my final thing was to say you can also donate by sending a sticker or a super sticker via YouTube. Maggie Morley says, thank you, John. Thank you, Maggie. I enjoyed that. Hope you did. I'm off now. Want to get ready for EastEnders. I'm terrible, aren't I? My mother-in-law, she's not very well at the moment. She watches it, and every night after it finishes, she says, "Is that how much longer is this going to go on?" And I say to her, "What, this storyline about this?" She says, "No, the whole program." I think that's a pretty accurate kind of summation of EastEnders and how it gets under your skin. Right. See you tomorrow then. Until then, if you've got kids, give them a kiss, give them a hug. Hey, don't forget to tell them you love them. Thanks for listening. Thanks for making it successful. Cheers.